Hey everyone, Austin Schneider here. Welcome to Rise Podcast, where we talk about real influence, self-development, and entrepreneurship. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Rise Podcast. Super excited for this episode because we have my pastor, Pastor Drew Davies, in the building. This is going to be an awesome conversation, guys. It's going to be a prophetic one.
It's good to be here, Austin. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Yes.
When you started it, I quietly thought to myself, maybe one day I'll get the call up and I'll be on it. But it's such an honor to be on there, and you're doing so many great things.
Yeah, this is like our second ever shoot in Brantegic Studios too.
So cool.
And it's been so cool for you to be along the journey as Brantegic has grown.
It's amazing.
And
what has happened is amazing, Austin.
Being aligned with Hope Village Church as it's grown, and all the things that you're doing at Hope Village Church with Marketplace and all that stuff. So,
wait, can I just brag on you for a quick second?
Yeah.
Just for all the people watching today, because I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I met Austin March 2020, right when COVID was hitting. Brantegic was what, you and a couple other people working out of your apartment. Here we are, fast forward 16, 17 months later. You've taken so many great steps. You've gotten an office there, now you're growing into an office here. You're constantly growing yourself, which I think is part the reason why Brantegic's continually growing. So I just wanted to honor you. You're such an inspiring guy, and you inspire so many people, and everyone speaks so highly of you. So I just wanted to just throw that out there to anyone watching today. Maybe you're wondering, this Austin guy's cool. He has great hair, great fashion, but he's also got a lot of great things to say. And probably one of the hungriest learners I know is Austin. So anyway, just to give you some honor, man.
Thanks, man.
It's cool.
I'll receive it.
It's been fun to watch it start and continue, and I think what's going to happen in the future is going to be wild for Brantegic and for you.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of sit on this for a second is aligning yourself with a good church, and a church that gives you the ability to tap into the power of God, not only in your personal life, but vocationally, and to align ambitions in a good way. So it's been a lot of fun just to be a part of Hope Village Church and grow with Hope Village Church, and I want to equally honor you for just all the work that you're doing in Seattle and transforming people's lives, and all the good things that you're doing to shape the city and to help some people out. So
we're having fun. We're having fun. We're doing what we can do.
It's crazy how much it's blowing up.
It's fun. We love this city. We love the people here, and we really believe we're going to continue to see a move of God in the city. Not just with our church, but with all the churches that are here. There's so many great churches in our city, and we're going to see revival in this place.
Yeah, come on.
It's cool.
For that. So, man, Drew, you have such a cool story. So the accent's pretty cool. Why don't we backtrack a little bit? So there's so many nuggets in your story that I think just are fantastic, of faith, of wisdom, of discernment, of listening, of leadership in many ways. And so you grew up in Australia.
Yes, that's the accent.
And
the Aussie accent.
So you got into ministry in youth, or
I can still remember. I was like 12 years old, and the lead pastor of the church sat me down and said, hey, we want to see you start to serve and be a kids church leader. And I walked out of church that day as like a 12-year-old, and I felt like, my goodness, someone just told me that I could be a leader. This is crazy. And I still remember that day very clearly, even though it was quite a while ago. That's the very first time someone said to me, we see leadership in you in the church setting. And so that was a cool moment. So I started serving in kids church, started serving in like youth, junior high, senior, like just that kind of age bracket for a number of years. My story is pretty much, I was the guy at youth group every Friday night. Like it was a priority for me as a student, but then as a leader as well, especially in my young adult years. I think every Friday night I was at youth from when I was about 12 years old to when I was 25, and we moved here to the States.
Crazy.
And I would never trade that for anything. I'd never trade that. If you're a parent watching today and you got kids, I can't stress enough how important it is to have your kids in church, have your kids in youth. They can get some job at McDonald's and make minimum wage. It's just not worth it. They're going to make $40 on Friday night. No, have them at youth. Anyway, just
no doubt.
It's a tangent, but that was our journey in Australia.
Yeah, so you're there. You're serving for a good 10 years, and you're also in the marketplace and juggling working and crushing it in real estate, and then also the serving at the church.
Yeah, all that when I say I was at youth every Friday night for 13 years, I wasn't paid a dime for that. I was a volunteer the entire time. I went into business with my dad shortly after getting out of high school, did a few different jobs to earn money, did Bible college, did a whole bunch of stuff, but it really was business that enabled me to have flexibility and to earn more money so I could go and volunteer 5, 10, 20 hours a week in the youth ministry.
Yeah. And then what was the turning point when you were like, oh, I want to move to a place called San Diego?
Yeah.
What happened there? Because you seemed like everything was going pretty good. And
things were good in Australia. Things are really good. Life was good. Loved our church.
And you and your lovely family were...
Family is great.
It was Georgia and Georgia Pastor Emma and Jack. Jack was born in...
All the kids were born here in the States.
Okay, wow. Okay, okay.
Yep, so it was backtracking, when I was 17, I had a moment in a youth conference in Sydney. We're from Brisbane. The conference was in Sydney. It was Pastor Jurgen's conference, actually. And I felt this really kind of strange calling from God to the United States of America. Never been here, watched a lot of Sesame Street, maybe that's something to do with it, I don't know. But I felt this almost like my heart was breaking for the United States, which is kind of strange because when you look at it statistically, there's probably more people in churches in the United States than in Australia. So it's like, well, why do I feel this, God? So you fast forward a few years from that, get married, a couple of years into marriage, Emma and I, it's our third or second anniversary, we're having dinner, we're talking about the future, and we're like, oh boy, if we have a heart for America and a heart for church planting as well, that was what that moment was when I was 17, for a heart for America, a heart for church planting. We're like, if we're going to do that, then we're probably going to have to move to America at some point. And then a really cool guy, Pastor Jurgen, you met him a couple of times, him and his wife, Pastor Leanne, had started a church in San Diego just a couple of years before we moved there.
And you had no idea who he was before you?
Well, we knew each other more as acquaintances, really. Okay. There wasn't like we hadn't hung out. I used to go to his youth conferences. He used to come and speak at my church every now and again in Brisbane, and always admired him but from afar. And always thought to myself, that'd be a guy that I would just be fascinated to serve and learn from, get up close with, catch what's on his life and Pastor Leanne's life. So we made that choice. Beginning of 2011, let's sell up stuff in Australia. Let's leave behind a great family business. Let's leave behind. My wife was a special needs teacher, which was just basically a golden career as far as when you get a job for the state in education in Australia, you're set for life pretty much. Like it's great. So, and she loved what she did, looking after kids with special needs, teaching them. And so we had a lot to lose. We used to live on the beach in Australia, literally walk across the street, there's the water. And so we made that choice to leave all that behind, go and do an internship in San Diego in 2011. Went from making 6 figures to making nothing. And I just really felt that, hey, this is something we want to do. And for some people, they love college. I think college has merit in some careers, in some ways you want to go in life. But I would encourage anyone watching today, if you want to go and crush it in an industry, go find the people who are crushing it in that industry and give them a year of your life. It's going to be worth a lot more and probably a lot cheaper than a college degree in many instances. Totally. So we moved there 2011 to do a 1-year internship. It was crazy.
So you left a lot to literally nothing.
Yeah, we went from living on the beach to we moved into a home, and we weren't sure how it was going to work with like finances and all that stuff. So we ended up living in a spare room of my my friend's parents' place in San Diego with a bunch of other people. Shared a bathroom with like 4 other guys, and I don't know how my wife put up with that. That's amazing. But 1 year turned into 2 years living in that house, just with finances and all that stuff. So it was quite a change. But and I think I've preached this on Sunday. We were loving it. It wasn't like I was, oh man, this is really hard. This is terrible. Poor me. I used to live on the beach, and now I'm sharing a bathroom with a bunch of people. I think when you're in the will of God and you're in your lane and you're in the purpose, you can put up with a whole bunch of stuff like that.
So what was your vision as you were moving from Australia to San Diego? Was it, I'm going to go under Jurgen and then hopefully get a job with Pastor Jurgen? Or is it, hey, I want to kind of find a job and maybe also serve on the side? Or what was pulling you so hard? Because to leave all of that to go out on a whim, literally have nothing. I don't envision myself ever being able to do it. I don't feel. But there must have been something really strong from a vision perspective.
Yeah, we went to San Diego with the two goals: to serve the vision of that church and to learn. I think there are definitely seasons of your life where I feel like you can be more intentional about being teachable, and that year we were like 100 million%. We need to be so teachable. We need to learn so much. We need to soak this whole thing up, because my plan was to go there, serve and learn for a year, and then go plant a church. So we graduated from the internship, sat down with Pastor Jurgen and said, hey, I want to plant a church in Orange County. Because who wouldn't want to plant a church in Orange County? Now, who's not called to Laguna Beach? I mean, come on, Lord, do you want me to go to Newport? I'll go to Newport. Lord, is it you? Is it you, Lord? No. And I sat down with Pastor Jurgen. I said, I want to do this. And I could tell he wasn't that into the idea. I think he would have, if I'd really pushed it, said, okay, off you go. But we made a choice. We want to be sent into the next season of life, not kind of run off into it. So I kind of just put that on the shelf. And I was like, well, if we're going to plant a church in Orange County, let's just chill for a minute. Went and got a sales job. So then volunteered at church, did a sales job for a while. Had a really good time doing that. It was a pretty high pressure commission kind of role.
Weren't you like the number one in the country though?
At one point I did make it to number one in this pretty big company, and so it was cool. I think it was really a harvesting of sowing into Awaken Church for a whole year as an intern. Plus a lot of hard work. Plus just the point that I had to make a lot of money at that point. We were losing so much money, not working for a year. So anyway, so put the idea of church planning on the shelf, and then did that. And then a couple of years later, before we know it, Pastor Jurgen's sitting down with Emma and I, and he's saying, hey, we want to start our third location. So as you know, Awaken Church, our church in San Diego, is a multi-site church. They've got several locations. We were location number 3. And Pastor Jurgen said, hey, we want you guys to think about starting our third location down in the South Bay of San Diego. And if you know the South Bay of San Diego, you know that it is an awesome place. It is packed full of great Mexican food, and it's awesome. And so we went ahead and did that. We started in a living room with a handful of people that were part of one of the other locations. A few months later, we had started in a movie theater, an AMC movie theater. Started with one service. God just grew that thing. We're just working away. Seeing God do a lot of cool stuff. Grew to probably 500-600 people within a couple of years. And in that time, we bought a furniture store. Church bought a furniture store. It was a monster. Have you seen it? It was a monster of a building.
It's insane.
It was an insane building. So we built that thing out, moved into there. Church continued to grow. Just lots of cool things happening. And so it was an amazing experience. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that we never planted a church before doing that. Like that, the 5 years of starting that location, learning so many invaluable lessons, maturing ourselves. Like I think there's something to be said for people who jump into things when they're either too young or too immature, and there's a tension in that you have to manage. You can't wait till you're ready, because if you wait till you're fully ready, it's too late. But I'm so thankful that we did wait 100%.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is it's a story of learning. It's a story of being present where you are. It's a story of not getting too ahead of yourself. I think oftentimes, even in business, I want to start this business, I want to be successful tomorrow, so I do whatever it takes to try to be successful tomorrow. You know, the instant gratification, the Instagram millionaires, it's the overnight successes, but it doesn't work like that. Like Instagram and all these people on Instagram or whatever, I'm using Instagram as an example, are going to say, oh, get rich quick or make side money, but really, and it goes to the scripture of being faithful with a little, you'll be faithful with much. And that requires process. You know, we're on the potter's wheel. You've preached that before. It's like, we're on the potter's wheel right now, and God is God's molding us to be where we need to be, where we want to be. And you're really a product of that, because you, with a lot of humility, moved a lot from Australia to San Diego with absolutely nothing. That takes a lot of humility. That takes a lot of checking yourself. You know, being like, okay, I'm just gonna serve. I'm going to be under Pastor Jurgen for a while, and at some point it's going to pay off, which it did with the opportunity to plant the third campus. It was such a wild, fun journey. And I think it's something to be said for, and this is something that I always run into talking with, especially young like entrepreneurs. They want to be like, they want to work for themselves, and that's really a good thing in some ways. But I think there are some people that aren't supposed to work for themselves. Or maybe they're not ready to work for themselves. Maybe they need to go work for somebody else for several years
to mature to a place where they actually can be the number one guy in the office.
Yeah.
I think too many young people especially jump out there and try and start something before they're ready. They just take a moment, and I think it's something to be said for how well you can serve another man's vision.
Yeah.
That's all through the Bible. Like if you can't serve someone else's vision well, you're going to recruit people, and people are going to work for you that aren't going to serve your vision well. And that's really, really important, both in church life, but then definitely in business life too.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've even, just you saying that, I think about all the past jobs that I've had, because it's not like I graduated college one day. I didn't even go to college, but didn't graduate and say, oh, I'm going to start bringing TJ.
Yeah.
It's a product of serving at this job really, really hard, serving at the next job really, really hard, working really hard at the next job, learning as much as I can, and then taking all of those, bundling up and saying, oh, I have all these experiences that I can now create my own and be equipped to do it and have the shoulders to bear that weight.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's been interesting.
It's brilliant.
Okay, so San Diego, so you moved to San Diego in 2011?
Yeah.
And when did you plant the church?
Like 13, 14, 15, 2015.
So about 4 or 5 years.
About 4 years in, yeah. We were there for about 4 years before we actually launched that thing officially and had that thing going. Yeah.
Crazy. So life was good in San Diego. Now obviously we're in Seattle. Talk about the transition from San Diego to Seattle. What happened in San Diego that gave you a calling for Seattle, and what's kind of that story? Because it's another, in my opinion, another story of major faith. Hearing from God, and just listening and also acting. You know? Also hearing, acting, being sent, and absorbing and being meticulous with your actions too.
Yeah. It's probably the number one question we get asked is, why would you leave San Diego to come here?
Yeah.
Which is a very valid question.
Yeah.
As you know, San Diego is a fantastic place to live and be, and we're part of a great church. Things were going extremely well in San Diego. This Pacific Northwest region started to become a thing for me probably 5 or 6 years ago. A really large church up here imploded, and when I heard about that, I felt that same grieving I felt when I was 17 for the United States. I felt that for this region, for this area. And I heard about this major church up here kind of overnight imploding, and a lot of stuff happening. And then I heard of even a couple other churches up here that were not imploding necessarily, but sort of taking steps backwards or shutting down, or and just hearing about that. But then at the same time hearing about being interested in the church plant world, hearing about how many church plants are happening in Texas and Nashville, and those places need great churches, right? But I'm just looking at the whole thing, and I'm thinking, well, it seems to me like for every church plant in the Pacific Northwest, or in San Francisco, or in Portland, more liberal areas, there seems to be like 3, 4, 5 plants happening in the Bible Belt. So I'm just wondering, God, what's happening? Are you a bad business person, or what's happening here? Like so my heart started to break for this region several years before even getting here. But I guess life was really good in San Diego. So again, it comes back to that arm wrestle of, oh boy, do we leave? We kind of just finally, after being in San Diego for so many years, built up a really great life, bought a home, scholarships for the kids' schooling, all these kinds of great things are happening, but I couldn't shake this thing for the Pacific Northwest. It just wouldn't leave me alone. Yeah. And I'm pretty logical for the most part. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to have one dream and take off with his family. Let's go do this thing. But I had 7 dreams about this region over several years. And so, and I've shared some of those dreams with you and with some of the people. But I think that for me was a really important part of it. And that vivid dream I had in March of 2019, where I walked into that big church, and not a specific church, just a big church up here. There's no one in it. And I'm like, God, where are all the people? Why is the church empty up in the Pacific Northwest? And then the dream gets all weird, and I end up, the devil comes into the dream, and we start playing chess. It's a weird dream. Okay, I'm playing. People are like, "Oh, who is this guy?" Just tune out now. No, keep tuning in. But in this strange dream, I actually played chess against the devil for the Pacific Northwest, for Seattle essentially, and in this dream. And in the dream, the devil's like cheating with the chess pieces, as you would expect. He's not known for honesty. He's the devil. Prince of Darkness, but he's moving the pieces however he wants to. And then in this dream, he's taunting me. He's saying, you know what? Most churches are only playing with the church pillar. I'm not playing with just the church pillar. The pieces were actually not chess pieces, they were the pillars of society.
Yeah.
And he says to me, I'm not just playing with the church pillar, I'm playing with the pillar of education, I'm playing with the pillar of government, I'm playing with the pillar of business, I'm playing with all the pillars of society. And so that was like quite an impacting dream. And the dream ended with the devil saying, checkmate. And so I woke up the next day and said to Emma, I keep having these dreams about Seattle. And she was definitely not into the idea of coming up here. She was 100%, we're not leaving. Life's set in San Diego. We have such great friends, a support network, our church, everything's great. So long story short, it took several more months of talking and negotiating and arguing before we sat with our pastors in October of 2019 and said, hey, this doesn't make sense. We want to leave here behind. We love our lives here. We've got a fantastic church, fantastic building. It's all happening. Revival's happening. Like church is exploding. It's great. We just can't shake this thing about Seattle, about the Pacific Northwest. And so as soon as we said that, Pastor Jurgen lit up. He's like, oh my gosh, if I could choose any city to send you to plant a church, it would be that region. This is a God thing. And we said, well, we're only going to go if you send us. If not, we'll just hang out. We'll just stay here. We're happy to stay here forever. But he's like, no, this is a God thing. We're going to send you. So that's kind of like the shorter version of it. But that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah. Mind you, you came right when the lockdowns happened.
Yes. It was a crazy time. It was nuts. We got here.
You were literally, driving up?
We were driving up as COVID was hitting. When we left San Diego, COVID was...
As the lockdowns were hitting?
No, lockdowns happened a few days after we arrived here. So, yeah. As we were driving up, we road tripped up the coast for about 10 days. Up the whole West Coast. Was awesome. But every day, COVID got worse. So I remember being in San Francisco, Bay Area, at my buddy's church, and it was like the second last Sunday before everything shut down and things were starting to get weird. We were starting to think maybe this COVID thing is going to be problematic. So we got here and everything shut down. Wild.
And now, since then, you just, like, the church has just been blowing up. Like, so many people have experienced such a refreshing atmosphere to be at Hope Village Church, myself included. And it shows by the amount of people that are serving, the amount of people that are attending. So it's been awesome, and it really goes to show that it's a God thing that you're up here, and it's serving its purpose. For now. I think it shows it's a God idea, not my idea. For sure.
God's building His church. My job is to make sure that the kind of church we have is His church. A church that doesn't shy away from the Holy Spirit. A church that preaches the truth of the Word of God. Especially right now, I think people are so hungry for, give me black and white. I don't want grey area preaching anymore. I want to hear some of the more like tricky topics at church. And there's definitely a time and a place for a nice, encouraging, motivational Sunday. But I do think that right now, in the climate we're in, we need to be really preaching the truth of what the Word of God says.
I think you explained something really well that I often quote you on is the Bible is not a one course meal, right? It's like a buffet. There's the grace, there's the Holy Spirit, there's the XYZ. You can't just eat from one.
You can't just eat from one. And that's when I look at a year and I think I've got 52 Sundays, and I'm not going to preach all 52, but I've got 52 Sundays. I want to make sure that our church receives sermons about all kinds of different topics, which is challenging because like there's my leaning would be to go to preaching about purpose, revival, take the city, faith. So but if all I preach is that, then there's going to be parts of the buffet, which by the way, I'm a big fan of buffets. Come on, buffet. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway. But the buffet of the Word of God there's so much within that to talk about and teach about. So much within there.
No. One thing that you hit on was pillars of society. I think people often maybe think that maybe they're believers, that the only way that I can be in ministry is if I'm a pastor or if I'm serving. Talk about the pillars of society and how there's actually purpose behind your vocation and what you're actually doing.
Absolutely.
You have a great way of articulating this.
Yeah. I think the day that a Christian can realize that they're called to be in full-time ministry, not for necessarily a church, but in their life, that's a powerful day. I think that we need to have Christians in all spheres of culture, all spheres of society. We need to have Christians in Hollywood, changing the arts and entertainment. We need to have Christians in in government, in education. We need to have Christians in business. We've got to people need to understand that, you know, being in full-time ministry does not mean working for a church.
Yeah.
And for some it will. For me, it's ended up there. I've been bivocational most of my life. For right now, I'm really just planting a church, which has been most of my attention, really. Aside from messing around the stock market, aside from that, like, most of what I'm doing is just church right now. But for most people, it's not going to be their story. For many people, they're going to find great purpose and almost a weight off their shoulders when they realize, actually, you know, I'm actually called to be a phenomenal high school teacher.
Yeah.
That's where I am. I'm going to be faithful with that. And I think when we're faithful with small, we get big. And I think that even Christians, knowing that they're in ministry, it's going to empower them. Don't just be a great high school teacher.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get yourself promoted. Be the principal of the school, possibly.
Yeah.
Be the superintendent of the region. I think that we need to have, like, now more than ever before, Christians need to rise up in whatever sphere they're in and be an influencer in that region.
Yeah.
From everything from small business to big corporation, from education to being involved in government, whether it's local, whether it's state, whatever it is, being a light, so the Bible talks about us being salt and light. And it's easy to be a light in a really dark place. Everyone says, oh, it's so dark in the Pacific Northwest. We're like, okay, well, how easy is it going to be a bright light then if it's dark up here? Cool, let's go.
Yeah, and then to me, it's also crazy because when I was growing up or younger, not growing up, but when I was younger, I was reading books about leadership, about XYZ, about how to crush it in vocation. And then now as I'm maturing as a Christian, I'm realizing that those authors are actually Christians themselves.
Yeah.
And those principles are actually from the Bible.
Right.
And it's crazy that there's so much alignment with vocation and with being a Christian. You know, I think a lot of people, again, going back to your notion, I have to serve because I'm in ministry, or like these principles that so many people teach on a massive scale are the same principles that are found in the Bible. Actually.
Absolutely. That's 100% true.
John Maxwell. I used to eat his stuff up, and then I never even knew he was Christian until a few years ago, and I was like, wait.
He's awesome. I met him one time.
Yeah.
I met him one time. He's very tanned. Anyway, he's cool. He's a really cool guy.
His voice is so captivating.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. He was called into ministry, and then he was called into business because he was writing all these books on how to grow his church, or how to have the principles to grow something, and then all the business people were eating it up.
Absolutely.
So you say something about, like your calling, like you're called to this, you're called to that. If I'm listening to this and I'm like, how do I know if this is my calling, or what does that even mean, my calling? What are some kind of things that practically myself or the listeners could listen for or look for that can make them feel confident that they're in their calling, or maybe they're not? Yeah,
it's a great question. I think it's probably a question we get asked a lot is, I don't know what I'm on this planet for. I don't really know what God wants me to do. They're all really great questions to ask. I would go back to, God has an assignment for you, maybe several assignments for you in your life to fulfill. And rather than putting all that back to God, like, God, what do you want me to do? God, what do you want me to do? Sometimes it's good just to look at yourself and say, well, what am I passionate about? What am I angry? Usually people think that anger is like a negative thing, but I find that anger leads to passion. And if you're angry about something, you probably are the person meant to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're angry about the way things are in your city, then you need to go and help fix that thing. So I think, kind of coming back to the question, I think looking at what makes you angry, what are you passionate about, what lights you up, what's going to get you up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and what's going to keep you up at night, like thinking about it. Oh man, we could do this better, we could do that better. That's what you should be looking to do. And if that is working for a church and being in ministry that way, or volunteering at church, absolutely, but it may not be. You probably in Brantegic, because you probably saw some companies with some pretty average marketing, and you probably got bothered by it and said, oh man, these guys could be so much better. I wish that they would spend some money but rather than just complaining about it, you actually went and started something that actually solves a problem. It solves a problem of, there are great companies that have bad marketing, and they could be doing a lot better with your help.
100%. And it's totally, like, Brantagic's a testimony of exactly that, where it's like, man, like, all these clients are asking me for help, and there's no one to help them. There's no one to do it well, and they can do a piece of it well. And I started to think to myself, I could create something and absolutely crush it for these people.
Yep.
And it was very natural for me. Like, it was one thing that I didn't have to sit there and do a lot of research and try to force myself to do it. Like, I'm not going to start a bookkeeping company because I have zero interest in that, and that doesn't come natural to me.
Yeah.
But the whole marketing thing and all my careers leading up to that set me up for that. And it was really something, again, like to your point, that made you angry. And it's like, gosh, if there was just something that could do this. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm just gonna do it.
And then look what's happening.
That's
Blowing
how you
up.
know that you're in God's will, and you're just really, I call it acting in a place of obedience. You know, it's like, it's not this huge thing that I'm on this throne and I'm this company owner and blah blah blah. It's more of just, I've just been going through a series of obedience and calling, and I've gone sideways and it's not worked out, but now that I'm in my calling, it's kind of like a flow state, you know? So maybe the people listening, like, what makes you in a flow state? And that could be what your calling really is. You know,
I think
video, you feel in flow state when you're in video. Like, you know, creative especially. You know, the graphic designers, you can just tell they're just in their zone when they're doing it.
For me, I feel like God's in something when I make the switch from being in a rowboat, which is completely dependent on me rowing the thing the whole time, and I've switched to a sailboat where all I need to do is make sure that the sail is tacked, or whatever they call it, sailing people, I'm sorry, have the sail correct, and the grace of God is going to push that thing forward. And there may be times where the wind dies down, I may have to jump in there and row for a minute. There's that tension of, it's hard work and it's trusting God, and if you just trust God and don't work hard, it's not going to work, and if you just work hard and don't trust God, it's not going to work either. It's a tension to manage. But I think that's to come back even to the point of, man, I'm not sure what I need to do and what's God's will for my life. I think looking at, well, what do I feel like when I'm doing it, that the breath of God's on that thing. Really, really important.
Yeah, that's so true.
And also this, I think sometimes there are times where God's will is not as specific as we think. I think God's a good father, and we don't want to forget that. Like, I have kids, and if my kids grow up, well, they will grow up. In Jesus' name, they will grow up one day. And if my daughter decides she wants to go ahead and be a teacher at a high school, I think that's awesome. If she wants to go ahead and lead a business, that's awesome. If she wants to go and be a real estate broker, I think that's awesome. I think that sometimes we get really stuck on, there's only one thing that God wants me to do, and if I don't do that one thing, I'm out of alignment with God, I'm a bad person, I'm a sinner. It's just not true. I think there are specific instances where God has specific projects and missions for people. Like, you look at the story of Jonah, God said, hey, go here. He's like, no way, I'm going here. So there are times, I think for Emma and I, it was definitely a specific geographic calling. But if we got it wrong and said, actually, we're going to go to Texas and start a church, I don't think God would be so upset about that he would say, well, then forget you. I'm not going to bless you.
For sure.
God blesses the ground you're walking on quite often.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to reevaluate my whole life because I don't know what God's will is for me, and I got to not do anything, I got to wait for God's specific calling. I would say just take some action. Like, if you know that you want to get into business, or you have a interest in XYZ, just start taking action. Like, you can have faith. You can have faith. You can hear, and like, you can know that God's will be presented to you. But if you're just sitting there and you're not doing anything, like, faith without works is dead, right? You gotta actually start taking some steps to put yourself out there, to challenge yourself a little bit, to not just be like, oh, okay, if it's going to be God's will, then I'm instantly going to be blessed and it's going to be perfect right here. I'm going to have a successful company. I'm going to do this. It's like, you got to start just taking some steps to get in maybe a direction. And then I think it's not a straight road. It's going to be like a windy road, and you can take some rest areas, and it's going to be boom, boom, boom. So I think over spiritualizing that stuff can also be paralyzing for a lot of people.
For sure. Like, or thinking, this is really hard, it can't be God. Like, that's such a lie.
100%.
It's so not true. Things are going to be hard. That's not like me trying to be a downer on the podcast. I think young people especially can buy into this thing where they forget that they think there's no rowing involved. It's just the sailboat. Now, if it's God's will, it's just going to happen. It's just going to, like, if we'd said that about moving here, if it's God's will, it's just going to happen. And we just got up here and we're like, well, it's locked down now. Let's just chill. Let's just hang out.
100%.
And if God wants to build his church, then he'll just do it all for us. I think there's a tension to manage of God is building his church, but then he's looking for people to go ahead and put their hand to the plow. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few.
Yep.
It doesn't even say that the people who pray are few. Now, obviously, we believe in prayer. Prayer is powerful, but you got to bring the harvest in.
Totally.
You got to get out there on the John Deere with a little hat on, the thing out. Bring the harvest in, amen.
When Noah was building the ark, he had to build the ark.
Right. God could have said, "Hey, here's a magical ark for you."
100%.
He said, "No."
You got to work. You got to put the work in order for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But he's equipping you through that work for what his plan is.
Mm-hmm. And Noah, if he was not a master problem solver, would never have figured out the ark.
Yeah.
Never.
For sure. So it's interesting that the balance of having faith and actually not over spiritualizing it too much, and because I think there's the notion of like people just thinking too much about it, you know, and they don't do anything, and then they get in that analysis process. It's basically balancing the faith, where you can have the notion of where you're trying too hard to hear from God and try to make decisions, or you're just taking way too much massive action without trying to slow down.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like
or even questioning, is this God's will? I think the more you read the Bible, that's why the Bible's so important. The more we read the Bible, the more we understand the heart of God, the more we know what his will actually is. Mm-hmm. So we find ourselves asking God different kinds of questions. Yeah. Like my kids ask questions that kids should ask, but when my kids are 25 years old, I hope they're not asking me the same questions because they've grown up and they've matured. Yeah. I think as we mature, we see things through a different filter and through a different lens, and it's easier to know what God's will actually is when we've matured and grown.
Yeah, no doubt. So specific to business, what do you feel, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I think one thing that I really love about Hope Village Church and just your DNA is the passion for marketplace, the passion for business, the passion for equipping business people to go out and have a kingdom-driven, purpose-driven business that's not just here to serve myself, to serve Austin. It's not Austin Schneider Studios, right? Like it's
with a big big thing of you, a big picture of you.
I'm on billboards everywhere, right? This is a vessel, right? This is an opportunity for me to use this to hire people, to steward to them, to learn about them. It's about the people, right? So maybe kind of smash the idea of, I'm in business because I want to grow my kingdom.
Your thing. It's it needs to get smashed over and over again, because I've seen time and time again people who get successful and they get everything they thought they wanted, and they're so broken, they're so empty, they're so unfulfilled. I think the big problem is because people quite often get into business because maybe they can't work for somebody else, which is a problem we've already talked about a little bit. But they get into business to build their empire. And that always has a bad ending to it. Because either A, you won't get it and you'll be disappointed, or B, the day you do get it, you're going to be disappointed. For sure. So when we have a culture and a society that says, hey, go out there, build your empire, go and crush it, we're setting people up for failure. And that's why we love at church encouraging and really setting business people back into mission. The idea that when you go to work on Monday morning, don't go in as I'm just the CEO of this little company, we've got 20-something employees, whatever. Like, you go in there thinking on Monday morning, man, I get the honor of being able to look after and be around 20 incredible people who I'm not just their boss, I'm also their friend, I'm also a voice in their life. They may not have a voice in their life that could be godly at all apart from yours. And you're their boss, so you automatically have influence over them like differently from someone who's not their boss. So I think marketplace people need to understand that they're called to be influential. Even if they may not feel like they're really wide for like crazy leadership and whatever. I think it's about being faithful with the small, and if you've got one person that you're sharing a cubicle with, maybe that's the person you need to share Christ with. Pray for if they're sick, whatever. So I think there's that. And I think too, when we get stuck in building our own little empire, we quite often, and then it doesn't fulfill us, we often people end up in a really bad place. I think that what there's going to be a big returning to
Yeah.
is the building of the kingdom, the kingdom of God. I think a lot of people understand business, and maybe they understand charity, and charity's good. It's great to give to charity. It's great to be a charitable person. That's awesome. Or maybe even they get business and they get philanthropy. Go and do great big things out there. They're not bad things, but those things should not replace kingdom.
Yeah.
Because we believe that the local church is the bride of Christ. It is the hope of the world. If we're building the kingdom of God, if marketplace people can understand that, yes, there's a whole side of being in marketplace that's about loving people, giving people jobs, giving people a great place to work, a great place to do life with other people, to fulfill a purpose. For you guys it's marketing, for other people it could be something else.
Yeah.
But then when we also understand that, no, we're actually here to see the kingdom of God established here on earth. The local church, the bride of Christ. I can't think of anything else that I would want to put my finances towards than building the local church. It is the hope of the world.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think going back to your point of just like coming into work with a new skin of, hey, like I'm here to be a light. If work is traditionally known as a dark place, or if you're listening to this and you don't really enjoy going into work, what if you went in with, hey, I'm actually going to be a light in this workplace and impact the 20 people that are around me.
Yeah.
And the same thing for me. It's like I have the opportunity to have people come work for Brantegic, and it's awesome because I come into it with knowing that I'm a servant even to my employees, and then also just being the light, like trying to exuberate some sort of light that they can catch and be like, hey, like why are you always so joyful, or why did your values tell you to do X, Y, Z? And it's like, well, let me tell you something.
Totally.
And I'm even practicing being more bold about it too, because that's one thing that I've been even hesitant to, is to bring that into even my social media, is my faith walk and my faith journey, and even the values of that with everything that's going in the world, even to, outside of business. So
right.
Yeah.
I think the way that we make a dark place bright is not from one or two people having really bright lights, from hundreds, thousands of people just shining their own light.
Yeah.
That's how we light the place up. I think people throw the baby out with the bathwater and they think, well, if I can't influence the thousands, then I won't bother.
Yeah.
But most people will never, you'll never influence thousands if you won't influence hundreds, and you'll never influence hundreds if you won't influence tens, and you'll never influence tens if you won't influence the one, the handful of people.
Yeah, so true.
Honestly, I'm not that smart of a guy.
Yeah.
I'm really not. I barely went to high school. That's true.
Yeah.
But I know this. I know that if I'm faithful with whatever God gives me, whatever comes across my desk, if I'm faithful with small things, I know that inevitably it will lead to larger things. And I'm also faithful, even if it doesn't, I'm still cool with that. I'm cool if I'm just, because at the end of the day, or at the end of my life, I want to sit in my rocking chair with Emma and look back on our lives and go, we were faithful with whatever you gave us. Not so much, well, I'd love to hope that we'll do something significant, change the world. Big is our future, is one of our values of Hope Village Church. We really believe we have a big God with a big vision, and we have a big vision for the city to start locations of our church all across this city, and that's what we're going to go for. That's what we're going to aim for. We're going to swing for the fences. We may as well. We only get one shot at life. We may as well go for it. But in saying that too, that if I don't get what I would envision, but I can still sit on my rocking chair as an old man and I was faithful though. I was faithful with whatever God gave me. For me, that is much more important.
So true. And then also going back to your point of businesses being influenced to further the kingdom, I think there's going to be a huge turnaround, because I'm even seeing the most influential people that maybe I look up to are in business, right? And then a lot of them are also believers. So I catch what they have and I see what they're doing and I follow in their footsteps. And if they're bringing a lot of people to Christ, like even Justin Bieber, for instance, not saying him as an example of a business person, but he's got 80 million followers on Instagram and he's talking about Jesus. That's awesome. Even people like Ed Milet, for me, it's like he's in business and he's also a very faithful Christian, right? And I think there's going to be a lot more of those people coming up that are going to influence people who may want to be in business to serve themselves, but to actually influence them to seek something else to serve.
Yeah.
Right? And to have purpose behind growing their business,
Yeah,
So
we
there's
have
a
to.
big turnaround.
Christians have to rise up right now.
Yeah.
We have to understand that it's our job, it's our responsibility to disciple the city that we're in.
Yeah.
And if we don't disciple the city that we're in, then the culture will disciple the people in our
you said
city.
that. It was so
And
good.
that is the absolute truth. And even, I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but the Bible says go into all the world and make disciples. It doesn't say to go into all the world and make a crowd.
Yeah.
I think gone are the days where we just celebrate the big crowd. Big crowds, nothing wrong with big crowds, nothing wrong with big conferences and having big meetings.
Yeah.
But I think there's got to be a returning back to, we've got the big crowd, sure, but what's really important is the discipleship.
Yeah.
Is we're going to disciple the city.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just hanging out with the crowd, just like-minded individuals for a nice fluffy sermon on Sunday, a nice TED talk that could be compared to a Rotary motivational thing. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think we need to disciple the city, and I think that happens from everyone taking whatever they're doing very seriously, rocking up to work, rocking up to, even a stay-at-home mum that thinks, I'm just hanging out with a few mums at the park a couple of times a week. There's still influence. There's still, be faithful with the ones that are around you. That's so important.
Yeah. People that you see at the coffee shop.
The coffee shop. Yep.
I hear stories all the time of people getting served food,
Yep.
and then they end up bringing that person to church, and they
Yep.
raise their hand at church, and it's
Yep.
like, oh, there's a life that I just
It happens all the
transformed.
time. There was a girl that Emma met at a coffee shop here in Seattle, and she was about to move, her and her husband were about to move to Arizona,
Yeah.
and Emma struck up a conversation, invited her to church. Long story short, they've now decided, no, we're not going to flee, we're not going to get out of here because it's challenging, and move somewhere where it's easier. We're going to stay here. We're going to build the church here. So their whole life has taken a whole different direction because of one little moment, Emma being faithful with just a random conversation at a coffee shop.
Yeah, no kidding. So practically speaking, if I'm listening to this, I'm a believer, maybe I'm not a believer, but more so for the believers. If I'm listening to this and I'm about to go into work tomorrow, maybe I'm driving in my car right now on my way to work, or I'm working out. How do I go into work honoring God? How do I honor God with my work? How do I honor God in my vocation? Maybe I'm a restaurant server right now. Maybe I'm doing X, Y, Z. How do I still continue to honor God? What are some practical steps that somebody listening?
Yeah, fantastic. I think, firstly, excellence. Excellence is something that Christians should be more known for. Like, he's the Christian guy. Yeah, he's always late to meetings. Yeah, like that's not a good thing. Like, don't say you're a Christian if you're always late to meetings and you're always on your phone. You're always not paying attention. You're not executing on the project effectively. I think excellence is really important. I think honor. I think we need to really bring back the importance of an honor culture. And I think you've heard me probably teach this at maybe like a leadership thing, or maybe it's something I've taught this before up here, where we need to honor up, down, and all around. It's kind of a clever little play on words, it rhymes. So honoring up would be honoring your boss, whoever's over you, and honoring them means not so much what you say to their face, what you say behind their back. That's what honor looks like. Really, anyone can say nice things to their boss, but what do you say about your boss when someone else is at the cooler and they're having a little session of complaining? What do you say then? So I think one step of being a Christian in marketplace is honoring up, honoring down, honoring the people that work for you, not being the boss that obviously there are some really bad bosses out there. I think that as Christians we shouldn't be known as being the bad bosses. We should be known as, my goodness, I think if people would rather work for you and I, but get paid less money than they were working somewhere else, I think we're doing something right there. I think people who have a good boss that loves them, it's for them. I think there's such an opportunity for us to influence people from being just great bosses. And then, so that's up, down, all around, honoring your co-workers and honoring the people that are around you. And again, what are you saying at the cooler about the people that you work with? And I think if you do those three things really well, and there's been so many times in my life where I haven't done those things well, and I've realized it afterwards, and I've realized, that actually costed me. That costed me a friendship. It could have been a friendship, it was just an acquaintance, or that costed me, maybe that costed me a promotion. So things like that, I think those two things, excellence and honor, would be at least a good starting point for being an effective person, especially working for somebody else, which is where most people are at watching today. Most people work for somebody else. And I think being faithful with another man's vision is so important.
I always think to myself, and this is me just getting vulnerable, is I don't know how me, as not having the backbone of Christianity, the backbone of good teaching, the backbone of a good pastor, could succeed in business, to be honest. Because when you're under pressure, your flesh, your anger will rise, or you want to make rash decisions, or you want to make decisions for yourself, but without the backbone of the values of a Christian and the values that I want to stand for. As a business owner, I would crack in a second. I find myself sometimes sitting in my office and I'm like, please, Holy Spirit, just help me be more like you, Jesus, in this situation, and what should I do? You know?
I think unfortunately a lot of people are in your position without the backbone, the foundation of Jesus, of following Jesus, and that's quite often why they end up doing all kinds of crazy things. They turn to substance abuse, they turn to
womanizing, cheating on their wives,
all the bad stuff, or they
spending
just
all their money.
They just flick it to, I'm just going to flex so hard. I'm gonna get the next car, and then the next car, and the next car, and when the cars don't fulfill them, maybe it's a jet, and then the jet doesn't fulfill them, maybe it's 5 homes in 5 states. It's just it's a never-ending pursuit of flexing, and again, it comes back to building my empire, which is where I think a lot of people who are probably in that position of, I'm going to crack, they go, well, I'm just going to continue building my empire, and again, it has a bad ending to it.
So good. So one thing that I really appreciate about Hope Village Church, and just you in general, is your ability to inject faith into people. And I think a lot of people listening to this are thinking about starting a business, or thinking about quitting their job because they don't feel like they're aligned where they are. What can we say to those people who maybe need a little bit of push of faith to get going? Because I mean, there's so many stories in the Bible. Anybody successful, just in the secular world, even has had a lot of faith to do that. So how can we encourage people maybe to like take the first step and not overanalyze it, or not just be stuck in your situation?
It's a good question. I think that faith and wisdom go together. I think that if you're a boxer, you should have a good left and a good right, and so maybe your faith is your left and wisdom is your right, and you want to have people around you as you're making these big decisions that represent both of those gloves. So for me, if I'm looking at the next big steps for our church, I'm looking at, okay, who can I ask who's a big faith person that's going to say, yes, you should do this? And who am I going to ask that is very much a wisdom person that's going to say, well, have you thought about this? What about that? What if this happens? You want to buy that big building, or what if it's got a roof that's falling apart? I didn't think about that. So I think that we've got to have the right people around us. I think where entrepreneurs get into really bad, sticky spots is when they've got no one around them, or they've got the wrong people around them. And they're acting out of emotion, they're acting out of frustration, they're acting out of, I've been working here for 5 years and haven't had a single, pay rise or promotion. I've got I think there's certainly wrong reasons to go and start your own thing. And I think that when you start your own thing for the wrong reasons, it's probably not going to work. I think that to go back to the thing of faith, the question of faith, I think we need to work like it's all up to us, and then pray and trust God like it's all up to Him. It's an old cliche saying, but I think it's so true.
So true.
And, God's going to put things in front of us that are going to involve tons of faith. It's just part of living a life following Him. And I think how we respond to those things is really important. I think that there's going to be times where you just kind of have to be okay with the fact that you're going to have an uncomfortable life. Like, there's that whole Christian cliche saying of, I just don't have a peace about it. Like, like when you take that girl out on a date, I just don't have a peace about it. I'm like, oh man, here we go again. Like, I think peace is overrated. Now, we need to, the Bible does talk about peace. Peace is a fruit of the Spirit. I think that you need to have an inner feeling of, I have peace on this, even though this is extreme. Like, if you were to go out onto a battlefield in a war, you would not have peace. But maybe you could have inner peace, but you're going into a very unpeaceful situation. You're going into a circumstance that's wildly stressful. So I think without accepting at the very beginning that there is going to be times where this is going to be stressful, this is going to be crazy, but at the end of the day, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to do everything I can do, And then there's a point where I'm like, well, God, the rest, you got to do the rest. All I can do is what I can do.
Yeah.
I trust you to do the rest.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you are thinking about starting a business, what I'm hearing is, don't just go start a business. Go get some wisdom from your friends. Go find a mentor who's been in the position before, and then do something as simple as writing a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's the dumbest down. When someone says, "Oh, I want to start a business," and like, okay, like, do you have a business plan? Oh no, well, like, that's cool. You have a lot of faith to start a business one day.
Yeah.
But I don't like, it's fugazi faith. Like, it's not it's not actual. Like, to me, it's empty. Right?
Oh yeah,
So
it's not real faith.
It's the people that are like, oh, I want to start a business. I want to do this, and it's like,
yeah.
Have some wisdom.
Have some wisdom with it as well. Wisdom's going to complement your faith.
For sure.
It's going to make you feel like, yeah, I've got this. I've done my due diligence, and I'm good.
And through that, you'll get revealed stuff as you're talking to people, as you're seeing the stuff on paper, and you're like, oh, like, I can do this, or maybe it's not the best idea to pursue this.
Yeah. And that whole need of having faith never really goes away.
Yeah.
Like, it goes away if you realize, well, this is where we're going to sit and we're going to stay here.
Yeah.
Like, it took you faith to go from a couple people in your apartment to half of this office space with a couple of people in there, maybe a few more people in there.
Yeah.
Now it takes faith to expansion. Taking ground always takes faith. It never really goes away. And I just realized I've signed up for a life, being a Christian, being a church planter.
Yeah.
That I just signed up for a life. It's always going to require faith. I hope I never come to that day where I don't need to trust God anymore.
Sure.
At that point, I probably need to hand everything over to someone else who's actually got some. Almost said a bad word then. Got some faith inside them. I'll say that much.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, super good. And I think the wisdom thing is what's hitting with me, because every decision here, on the outside you could be like, oh, faith, but all the hours doing my research, talking to people, making sure that's planned faith.
Yep.
You know, I've had plenty of faith decisions that might not work out because I've gone through the ringer, and it's actually not a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And there's always going to be some degree of risk. Like, if you're looking for a completely, like, if you're overanalyzing in, like, hiring somebody, you could. It's funny to hear about, like, some of these guys that work at these tech companies and they have like 7 or 8 interviews. I'm like, really? Like, wow. Like, you know. Anyway, so I think even hiring someone, there's going to be a certain percentage of you're just going to have to trust that this is going to be a good thing for you. I think the same thing applies.
Yeah. So what's next for Hope Village Church? What are you most excited for in the next couple months, next couple weeks, next year?
Yeah. Lots is happening. We excited to do our grand opening at the end of September. It's going to be cool. We're launching our next semester of village groups. Have I think around 20, 22-ish village groups going to be happening, which is great. And for Pastor Emma and I, groups are such an important, because going back to discipleship, how do we disciple a city? Well, Pastor Emma and I we can't disciple a whole city. We're just 2 people. Jesus had 12. And one of those didn't work out too well. So, you know, what we get so lit up about is the fact that we're going to have groups happening this semester. It's going to be cool. We have that happening. We're obviously looking for a permanent location aggressively, especially right now more than ever. We're looking very aggressively for a permanent location. We're also excited about starting more locations. First things first, we know we've got to launch this thing and get this thing really happening here on the east side, but we're looking forward to doing other locations in Seattle and down in, I think Tacoma would be a fantastic place for another location, up north, and you go up to like Everett, Marysville. Is it Marysville? Yeah, Marysville. There's a lot of people to disciple up here, and a lot of people that we want to reach, and that's going to happen through multiple locations for our church. We get so excited about the future.
Yeah, one thing that I really love and appreciate is the intentionality with groups, the intentionality with reaching so many people through the current people that we have. I mean, and just the diversity of groups, where there's the business groups, there's the women's group, there's the family group, there's the men's group. So there's so many options to build community and find your purpose, because community is so important. And like, it was an unlocking moment for me to be around people, because I was very self-serving, but once I got into community, once I started expanding my horizons, once I started learning more from the word and just being around community, that's when my life started to really churn and perk up and start to get revealed stuff.
And that's where you can make the switch from building your own empire to building the kingdom. When you realize that what you're part of is so much bigger than the part you play.
Yeah.
And I think people, we always say this, you've probably heard us say it 100 times, that people want to be known and they want to be needed. They want to be known, they want to be needed. It's just the way God wired us. And so we always believe that people are known, being part of a village group, and then they're needed from being part of a team, some kind of serving. And everyone's serving is different. There are people that are on 7 teams and they're doing way too much, and then there are people that serve once a month. But I think what I get really excited about are people who are getting more skin in the game, and just crushing that culture of, man, church is a consumer-based thing. Like, I just come to church to consume. I come here because it's a nice little sermonette, and I go about my life, and I go to 7 different churches, and I don't have a pastor, and I don't have any accountability. I don't believe in giving. Like, I just love that we're rocking the boat for a lot of people up here, and we're challenging people, and in a great way to expect more of them. I remember one day a gentleman who was twice my age. I said to him, man, I think people just really want to have more expected of them. And it just struck me. He said, I want you to expect more of me. And I was like, wow, you're twice my age. Totally. And you're a very successful business person. And how intimidating it was in some ways. I'm like, wow, people actually, anyway, so that's a bit of a tangent, but I get excited about more than just the starting of the church and, great Sunday services, which are really important, great worship, really important. I get excited about the stories. We've seen so many stories of people who have been lit up and they've been in church, in and out of churches their whole life, but now they actually want to, let's get involved. Let's put our hand to the plow. The harvest is plentiful, the workers is few. Let's make this thing happen. Let's see revival in this city. It's going to be awesome. And even seeing business people lit up. There's some business people that are in our church that are lit up.
That's incredible.
And they're like, I haven't been lit up for a long time. I haven't. Like, there are literally people in our church that are like, I could probably retire, but I'm going to keep going because I want to help. I want us to buy buildings. That gets me so excited that we're unlocking people. That even people in our church, probably half a dozen families that we're going to move to another state. Washington's not good. We need to go somewhere else. And now they're staying because they believe in the mission of our church. And for me, that's like the ultimate win right there.
For sure. It just shows that there's such a big purpose for you being up here. And it's happening. I think it's happening. So it's
cool. It's fun, man. We love it. We love our people. We love you guys. It's just awesome.
It's been a lot of fun to be a part of it. I just remember when we met outside the coffee shop. Everything was shut down. I was like, what is this guy doing? He's freaking driving up here in the middle of COVID, just hitting, and it's like, look at us now.
It's crazy. It's been a wild 17 months or whatever it's been, 18 months, I don't know. You lose track of the months. I think it's 2021 right now, but I don't really know. I don't know what's going on.
All right, well, if you're in the Seattle area, you got to come check out Hope Village Church with myself, Pastor Drew, Pastor Emma, the whole congregation. Bunch of amazing people, 9 a.m., 11 a.m., Sundays, Lincoln Square, theaters, right?
Downtown Bellevue.
Cinemark,
downtown Bellevue. Come hang out. We have a full kids thing going on for 3-month-old to 12-year-olds, and it's awesome. We have kids church happening, not childcare, kids church happening. It's really cool.
And if you're listening to this before the groups launch, check out some groups to get into, build some really deep community. Business group will be fun as well. There's gonna be one of those, I think. And then also follow Pastor Drew and the church on Instagram. Where can they find you? I'm plugging you. I want to let you plug yourself.
Sure, man. Instagram is just at Hope Village Church. My Instagram is Drew Davies, DrewDavies, and then there's a couple of underscores after that. It's either 2 or 3. I can't even remember.
Follow him for funny videos of Jack.
I promise you, I can't promise you great content apart from my kids doing crazy stuff, which is I post all the time. Like, did you see my post last night? Yeah. Jack was eating like a spring roll with tongs. It's just, I don't know what he's doing. He's 6 years old and he just does what he wants. It's awesome. But we'd love to connect. Please reach out if you need more questions about the church, need prayer for anything. Reach out to us. We'd love to help where we can.
Come on, what an honor. Thank you.
It's an honor to be on this show, man. This is awesome. So cool.
So good.
Rise, love it.
And if you like the interview, I would just ask one thing. You share it with someone that you think would benefit from it. I started this podcast so that I can help get inspiring messages out and allow people to see their potential in unlocking in themselves to rise up in their personal and professional lives. And if it's not being shared, it's not fulfilling its purpose.